Welcome to the Crafty Mini, and in this one we're going to be having some fun painting this ogre pirate 3D print that I've got with a strange little, I thought it was a parrot at first, but it turns out it's a little man in like a costume on his shoulder. So starting off, just had it, it has a nice light grey base coat. I've put some weathering diorama mix on the base, the Vallejo. It's actually wet ground, but considering the texture of it, I can actually paint this up to make it look a bit like sand. So we're going to try that as well. And initially it's just a case of getting all these base coats on and then highlighting up. So starting with the skin, I wanted him to have a darker skin tone than I usually do. So I'm starting off with some dark brown. It's the Mahogany by Pro-Acryl. I find it's got really nice coverage, and I do 2 thin layers with this, slightly watered down, just to make sure the paint gets into all the recesses. Now, a little bit about this miniature. So this isn't one for myself. This is for someone who's got in contact, and they basically want this. It's for their D&D campaign or fantasy RPG campaign, and this is going to be their character. So they're playing an ogre pirate. Now, the only sort of design constraints were the parrot creature has to be green and red accent colours. Other than that, I've got free reign to do whatever I want. So basically I'm just going to go and have a bit of fun with this, try some different things. The way I'm painting it is the same as I usually do, with the building up the lighter layers and such, but yeah, we're going to try something a bit different. I think with the coat, I mean obviously I've finished at this point, but when I was painting it, I was toying the idea with either a blue or a red coat for that sort of Caribbean, you know, French or British sort of uniform, and then with the black trousers. But what we're actually going to do is this, the brown that I'm using, this is a technique I've used in a lot of videos before, and it's that mother colour, and basically this is going to be there throughout. So this brown I'll be mixing with each of the colours, with exclusion to the greens on the parrot character, but there to just tie everything together and make it all look it's all the same sort of hue and tone running throughout. The print is absolutely gorgeous. There's tons of detail on this. I've asked the person who having this done from where they got it from, because the quality on this is phenomenal. It's a really nice print and bags of character. Loads of big areas where you can express yourself with the painting. It isn't like over festooned with little minor details and things. It's very, very simple, but has a lot of character in it. So for the actual skin then, to start building up these layers of highlight, so what I'm doing, I've got the initial mahogany, and I'm mixing in a little bit of light umber into that, and we're going to build up progressive highlights. And you can see here, it's again very thin layers, glazing it on and building up the opacity. In the footage, I think I've got about 2 or 3 layers of footage, but I ended up doing about 5, especially on the stomach and the face, because that's where I want the most of the sort of people to sort of be drawn to. Now it is a very subtle colour difference, but when you look up close you can see especially the definition on the muscles and the arms, and again across the belly and the face, and it's something a bit different. Normally I do Caucasian skin, but it was actually a quite easy experience, and it's the same process. You just take your initial colour, lighten it with something that complements it, in this case a light umber, just to almost make it like a chestnut sort of brown as it works its way up in the layers, and you just keep building up the layers of glazing on top. When it comes to the face and things, they get a bit more and a few more layers, just because I want that to pop a little bit more. But overall very happy with it, and it fits the theme of the character a lot. And with each successive layer, I'm just adding more and more of that light umber to the mix, and just picking out these smaller details, especially around the face. Now he's got quite a funny little grin, and with this sort of side, with the chinless part of the beard as well, sort of big mantle of hair. It frames his face quite nicely, and then he's got these little gold eyebrow studs as well. And it's at this point I'm starting to think I'm going to settle for the red as an accent colour, because it's going to go nice with the green of the parrot. And we'll do like the lapels in a yellowy colour, so it's more like a traditional sort of 18th, 19th century English uniform. But you can see here, this is where I'm picking out all those little extra bits on the muscles, the highest points of the arms that are going to be facing the light, and just glazing over with this lighter colour. Now, when it first goes on it, again, with a lot of Pro Acrylic stuff, it looks really bright and vibrant, and then it dulls down as it dries. So this gets about 2 or 3 coats of this just to build up the opacity, and same on the face as well, which will then get an extra couple of coats just to make it pop a little bit more. Now, although I do a lot of commission work as well, alongside with the YouTube stuff, I don't tend to record much of it, because there's a lot of back and forth with the customer and what they want. Now, the nice thing with this one was, all I got told was those few design parts of the brief, and it was pretty much go and have as much fun as you want with it, do what you want with the paint scheme, which was a bit more refreshing, and it was a bit more enjoyable as well, and it meant I could take my time and do some of the little things with it. But overall, a really fun little project this has been. So as I mentioned, we're going to do the jacket in this red, because it's going to be a really nice colour that's going to pop a lot on the miniature. And then there's a little tassel that's hanging from the belt, that'll be red as well, and the bandana. So you've got all so it marries right the way through the miniature, although there's not a lot of this colour, and it just makes it pop a little bit more. And for this, it's a really simple mix. So I've got the mahogany mixed in with a bit of the bold pearl red. Roughly 2 to 1, just to darken it down, and then I'll add a bit more of the red to it just to build up those few layers. The red itself, because there's so little on there, and I want it's basically his expression and the little parrot character that's on his shoulder to pop the most. I don't do as many highlights with this as I would normally, but it does marry really nice with the colours, and because you've got that readiness in the brown anyway that marries through, and because I'm using that mahogany as the base tone for every single colour, everything does sort of marry together quite nicely. Also, for later on pieces, which I'll discuss when we get to the footage, using these reds to mix in to make different shades of brown and other things, again, just so effectively you're only using 2 or 3 colours, ignoring the green parrot character, but you're only using 2 or 3 colours that are going to put through everything on this miniature, and it just makes everything come together in the end. And here we are, just picking out the last bit of highlights. So like I say, the bandana, the jacket, and there's a bit of cloth that's hanging from his belt, and these are all getting the same highlight here in this red. This particular paint is one of my favourites in the Pro Acrylic range. The pigments in it, you can push it really, really far, even when you've heavily watered it down, so you can do some really fun glazing with it. In terms of paints, because it's something me and Welsh have spoken about on the podcast recently, was like paints and things. The Pro Acrylic are definitely my favourite, but they are, I would say, they're more for when I'm doing a nice piece of painting for a special sort of project, or something like a competition or things like that. If I'm doing generic sort of 28mm, Vallejo for me, they're my workhorse, and they'll get everything that I need to get done. But there's certain colours within the Pro Acrylic range, and this is one of them. It's an absolute joy to paint with. You can't go wrong. The pigment density is so much in there that you can, as I say, you can water this right down and do extremely thin glazes and build up the opacity, and you get a really nice smooth finish on stuff. It's a cracking little paint set. Now, there'll be some parts of the model that I'm going to paint and not do a step about it, because there's some of the smaller details. So the little button coverings that are on the jacket, now I'm not sure if this is even close to what the British Navy would have, but considering it's a fantasy setting, I've always liked those yellow button covers that are on the red jackets. I think it's a nice contrast, so I've gone for that on there, and I'm using the same yellow now to build up this sandy base. Now, as I say, I used Vallejo's Russian mud on there, and I've just brushed it out and watered it down to give it, because you've still got the grainy texture in there, which is what I want for the sand, but as it goes towards the back of the base, it's as if it's pushed out and it's finer sand on there. And this is just a really nice base colour for this, and we'll dry brush this up. I'm not too fussed if I get it a little bit on the feet, because I want some on there anyway, as we build up the layers, and it's just a case of getting this colour down and getting it sorted. There'll be some other little of the smaller details on the miniature, which again I haven't done a dedicated sort of little bit about, but we'll speak about them as we come through the footage later. and it's starting to come together quite nicely now with the colour scheme. So with the little things like the trousers, unless it's a deliberate choice, I like to keep them quite muted, because I think I want the eye to be drawn more towards the sort of torso and head. And with this dark warm grey by Proquill, it's a really nice colour. As it is, if you wash this over with, say, like null oil or a dark black wash, you get enough texture variation and contrast with the colour, and it looks like it's like the old I think it was Chardonnite Granite by GW. There's a paint of theirs that was actually really good, and I used to use for my old Cadian army years and years ago, and it's the same sort of principle. So because it's not black, but when you wash it down, all of those little bit of recesses and things still pop through, and you get a nice contrast, and it looks like a dark cloth fabric, but that has lots of different light and texture on it. And it's one of my go-tos for anything. If I want to stick to something that colour, especially, as I say, for trousers and things where I just want it there to have a bit of detail but not have to worry about all the extra bits, and then the eye being drawn away from the focal areas. So this is a really nice paint to get on, and it covers fantastically. It's pretty much one coat, apart from a few areas where I've thinned it a bit too much. And a really simple way of just getting colour down and not having to worry about it. So at this point, for this belly band that's sort of holding his trousers up, I've used a bit of the red, the mahogany of course for the base colour, and a little bit of the sand colour, and they've got this nice sort of corky brown sort of colour, which is going to go all over. One of the nice things is, especially using a Pro Acrylic, but you can do this with any paint, is if you constrain yourself to not doing every different type of shade of brown for all the little accoutrements, and instead mix it yourself, all the colours marry together like it does with the whole mother colour technique. But it's a really easy way, and you can start to learn to mix new colours and new shades of things, and just using what's there on your palette. So I've used the same sort of sand colour for the wraps around his waist, and then, as I say, the mix for this particular belly band and things. I even went and mixed a little bit of the dark brown in with the grey for his beard hair, and because I'm only using from about 4 or 5 different colours on the wet palette, everything's marrying together, everything's got a little bit of each other in it, and it tends to pull all the colour scheme together at one point. As I say, with this particular miniature, the difference will be the little parrot character on the back, because of him having the customer wanting the green feathers, so it stands out a bit more. But it's a really simple way of getting a lot of it, sort of tone and variation in your painting, and not having to use 10 different paints each time you sit down to actually do anything. Instead, you use about 4, maybe 5, and then if you exclude one of those because it's black, it's really only 4 colours, and you're mixing variations of them on the wet palette to get the tones and the shifts that you want. Right, so now we're about to start work on the parrot itself. Now, around his shoulders he's got this like fur, I'm not sure what it is, but I've used the mahogany and red mix on the palette, and I've added a little bit of the green that I'm using now on the feathers, just to, again, differentiate that, because I don't want it to be too brown against his skin, because it'll clash a little bit. I've also gone in with some white and just picked out the ribbon that I've gone over in red on his jacket, just again break up those colours as well. And for the parrot, it's just a case of going through now with Pro Acryl's basic green, and then we'll add a little bit of the sand colour to brighten it, just to pick out some of the feathers and differentiate from, because I've actually noticed on the sculpt, so he's got these feathers down his arms, and then what looks like grass skirting around his waist and his head for hair. So I'm going to do those as 2 different shades of green, and then highlight up with the sand colour, just to make them pop a little bit more, and then we'll pick out some little details on the skull and things. But again, the concept's there. Although this is a brand new colour to start from, I'm going to use that to mix with the other colours that are on there, just so I can get different variations in the green as I'm working across the miniature in any little area that I need. So I've not done any of the metallics yet, because that'll be the last thing to do. But to get a bit of variation, because all the colours are, although they all marry together, they're a bit flat. So I'm just going on with some wash. Now this is I call it Sally's Grime. So this is Agrax Earthshade and Army Painter Dark Tone mixed together, so you get this like really mucky brown. It does stain quite heavily, that's why it's only used on certain areas. I want it on the trousers, the bits of cloth around, and then also just to punch out the brown in the skin a bit more, make it stand out a little bit more, it'll get that, and then on the belly band itself. But the rest of the miniature I'll do in the Marine Juice from Sledgehammer Studios. That's my go-to wash for simpler stuff, and that's just Lamy and Medium, Army Painter Dark Tone and Reichland Flesh Shade mixed together 1-to-1 in a big bottle, and it's a really good wash for everything. Just it sets out all the details, but it doesn't stain too heavily. So it's just a case now working around the model, and this will make all those nice little details pop, and give it just a bit more depth to all the colours and a bit more character, and it just makes things. It makes it look like you've done more painting than you have. This is one of the nice things with washes, especially on smaller scale miniatures. So now it's a case of just getting all the metallics put on while I'm waiting for that wash to dry, and then this will get the lighter wash put on top just to help pick out the details. So I've got a nice bronze on the little wrist piece here, and then some of the little smaller bit pieces around the miniature. The main sort of basket for the sword hilt and the basket for the hook, they're going to get a bright gold mixed in with the little bit of the bronze to darken it slightly, and then just a really simple silver on the sword blade itself, and the little anchor on the back, which I do forget about initially, but I've gone back and painted. And it's a really simple way of getting your metallics to pop. Non-metallic metal is something I'm still playing with, I'm still trying to figure out. But I find that the just metallics work perfectly fine at this scale. So this is although it's a big miniature, it's a 28mm scale, and it works fine. It's only really on busts and things where you have to start trying different things for the metallics to work, because it's something to do with the flakes, but it sort of draws the eye off and doesn't quite pop the way it should do. But overall, it's a really simple way of working. Now this video was filmed a couple of months back. The customer has long since had their miniature, and we're really happy with it. So thank you very much for asking me to paint this. It was a lot of fun to do this. You'll see in the close-up shots the little like fish hook on his back, and I think if I remember right, some of the stitching I hadn't painted when I did the original footage, but it's something I'd spotted when I did it at the time, and I did go back and finish it, so the customer did have a completed miniature. But it's one of those, it's just a case of mix your paints and express and experiment a little bit more, and the mother colour as well. I think it should be a go-to for miniatures. It's a really nice way of getting all your colours to tie together, and in this case, because I've not used it on the green, that parrot guy really does pop a little bit more with his skull and the red accents that come out, and they complement each other, and it's, yeah, overall I'm really happy with this. But thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please let us know. Also, me and Welsh are going to be sort of driving the next few videos now and asking for the podcast if you've got anything you'd like us to talk about regarding the hobby, or not. Just let us know and hit us up either on a comment on a post, or if we put a poll up or anything at any point on our channels, because we want a bit more community engagement with that, because we're having a lot of fun recording it. We're into season 2 now, and hopefully you'll enjoy those. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all on the next one. Cheers.